in Santa Fe, and I am so glad to welcome you back. We're going to be joined once again by my publisher at Gather Insight, Jaylene Clark. So Jaylene, you want to just wave and make a little noise so they see your picture?
Woo-hoo!
And laughter is just absolutely perfect. I love that. And my co-author of our upcoming book, Christy Sweetland, you want to laugh or make some noise so we can see you?
Hi, great to be here.
Beautiful. And we have some people that will be joining us, and we'll introduce them as we go along. But I want to begin by saying that we have picked a topic that has been difficult to present because a few months ago when we had it on the agenda, the end of drama, it seemed as if drama was coming at us and we just couldn't do it. So we had to postpone, and today is rescheduled. So one of the queries we're going to have is, how come today? What is different today that allows us to talk about this radical concept of the end of drama? So perhaps, Jaylene, how about we just start with the definition? I know in the book, which is S.T.A.R, a Now State of Being, which you very kindly asked me to write and published, we began that chapter or that section with a definition of drama and how what we're talking about is a little bit different than the drama on the stage. It's more of how one relates to the world. Can you sort of start us off with a new octave definition?
Sure. We live on planet Earth. We're in 3D experiences. We have a ton of information coming to us from all different sources, and it creates this sort of chaotic effect in our life. And the dramas in life are the things that capture our attention for that moment, and we just have to go forward with those because they're the crisis. And that's the way the human's been wired. We were wired originally to survive, and we had to survive by being very observant of those kind of things that were going on around us. But today the world is different. And so now we might find ourselves in drama with other people going through angst and misery and, you know, very significant trials in their life. And we go, how can I relate to that using the S.T.A.R principles? What is it about drama that has driven the human experience up until this time? And what happens when that drama can no longer move us forward on our journey? Which is the big question. What comes next to move us forward on our journey? The antagonist and the protagonist for eons have moved that story forward with contrast in our life. And now we're going, well, wait a minute. There's got to be something new. I'm tired of this. How many times have I been through this similar experience, maybe in a different lifetime or in different circumstances? And gosh, I'm really ready for something different. So how do I relate to a world that's wired for drama and not go there?
I love it. And Christy, this makes me just want to jump into the Fascinated Observer and any comments you have on that topic.
Well, I loved what Jaylene said, and I think the Fascinated Observer is the key to this. Being able to witness what we experience through the eyes of the Fascinated Observer brings us out of judgment. And really getting mired in drama is about getting mired in somebody else's journey. And that's what, I think that's what our work is all about.
You know, I'd love to ask the two of you what you would say the relationship to energy has to do with drama. And I'm going to answer my own question first, because I can do that, and that's what I'm going to do. When I am in a dramatic situation with, Christy, I'm going to use you as an example. Let's say you and I were having breakfast yesterday or whenever it was, and something came up, and it caused what one would perceive as a dramatic situation. I think historically, I might have, and this is not a very wonderful term, but I might have fed off of your energy field in order to nourish my field. So it's an energy exchange that in dramatic drama, that's sort of a bad sentence, but in dramatic drama, it's kind of like I'm stealing your energy and bringing it into my field to make myself whole. And I don't have to do that anymore, because I think that in this new energy, this new earth, we are so anchored in self-love, we are so anchored in the concept that we are sovereign beings, that I can stand alone and I can very much more easily be the fascinated observer of you in that situation and of me, and I have no energy need. Does that make any sense to you?
It does, and it feels like we entrain to each other's energy, and sometimes we do it in a destructive way, and even though we're really trying to be compassionate, I think that when we're with somebody, you know, let's say you and some interaction between you and me, Nina. This is hypothetical.
Wow.
But let's say you were in a place where you were feeling the drama of something, which makes our instinct at times want to match that frequency. And so having to go into that drama and actually add to it is making us both sick in some way.
I love your words, add to it. It's kind of like I'm throwing fuel on the fire to increase this energy. And Jaylene, has that got anything to do with what we talked about in the book about a chemical dependency and the neuropeptides and having all of this drama feed that frenzy?
Well, if we could talk about one level of drama that I think is fairly intriguing is the phenomena of women starting their menses together when they're working together in the same office. And I can think of nothing more dramatic than a bunch of PMSing women in the same office together. That creates a level of drama. So that's a way that we share energy. I mean, this is scientific. This is what happens when we cycle together. And I think the same thing occurs with drama. And when we are in this place where we're at the octave of fascinated observer, I can stand beside someone who's experiencing a very dramatic situation, and I can be there with them and observe it and not ignore that it is occurring. And I can be in touch with my fascinated observer and know how to respond to that and not get pulled under. It's like, you know, you got two people going for the same life breath in the drama. You know, two people are going for it and only one can have it. And when we're in the fascinated observer, we just don't need the life preserver anymore.
You know, Christy, we're really standing firmly on this word fascinated observer, and for those who are listening who have not been introduced to that term, and you are actively writing about it, it's part of the title of our upcoming book, maybe you can just ground us in what is the fascinated observer?
I think the fascinated observer is where we go when we rise above our egoic pain body, which is one term of 1,000 for it's about actually becoming the sacred witness in our life, detaching from the judgment and simply observing what's happening on an objective level, which then I believe allows us to have tranquility because we are not attached to these things that we have no control over, like the behaviors of others, traffic events, things that generally that pull us out of our higher perspective into that place of pain and judgment.
So, Jaylene, I think we've had some really serious conversations about this. Does being the fascinated observer mean you're passive?
No, it does not mean that you're passive. It does not mean that you're aggressive either. And it's really difficult to understand that because, we think that we have to either be passive and, like small and in front of everyone so no one really notices us, or aggressive and voice our opinions with what's going on in the world. And we don't need to be either when we're the fascinated observer. We're present. We're in the situation. We're watching others go through the situation. We're not judging how they're responding to it. We're just observing how they're responding to it. So we're not going, no, you shouldn't do that. Don't open that door. All those other kind of things, when you're watching a really scary movie where you're going, oh, don't open that door. Something's going to happen here. So for me, that's what the fascinated observer does. It doesn't matter what door's opened. It doesn't matter who they're in company with. They're still who they are, their whole divine self. They're not afraid to show it to other people because they're observing anyway.
And again, that was such an enormous aha. And I think that another piece of that aha, which relates to the end of drama, is that when we're involved in a situation that could be dramatic and that we could have a very reactive, judgmental expectation of outcome relationship with, the pivotal shift from the way I conducted my life 5 years ago to the way I'm living it today is that I am not drawing on the emotions of the past. For example, let's take a situation where I'm involved with a family member who has a critical condition. It could be that I remember that my Uncle Joe or my sister had that condition, and this is how the outcome happened for them. And this enormous fear would overcome me, and I would project and have expectations that absolutely is going to be the case in this situation. So being the fascinated observer and having an end to drama is looking at that experience in the now. Christy, can you jump in here?
Absolutely. I completely agree with everything you said so eloquently, and it really is about learning to be in the moment. I think we can only activate from a place of the fascinated observer if we lose our timelessness and really come at it from a place of just this moment.
Well, and the other thing that I could project into that family drama is, oh my gosh, if that happens to my family member, how am I going to pay the mortgage? Oh my gosh, what am I going to do with Aunt Sally who is blah, blah, blah? So it is not only the experiences, the conversations, the memories, the emotions from the past that are impacting a situation dramatically, but it's also the fear of the future and what is the unknown and where am I going on this journey. This takes an immense amount of self-love and sovereignty. Jaylene, you are so close to all of this. Do you have a thought?
I do, because it's really interesting. One of the things that I teach my authors is as soon as you embark upon writing a book such as S.T.A.R. and such as The Fascinated Observer, that the universe is a great choreographer who comes in and they orchestrate these experiences for us in our life that are very close. And so when we were working on one section of The Fascinated Observer, I had one member of my family that was in the hospital for 6 weeks who had Crohn's disease, and she couldn't manufacture blood platelets. And it was a very frightening situation for us. We didn't know what was going to happen. And so that was going on. And then just as we were getting ready to do this broadcast, my husband had a melanoma scare. And so here I am, oh, okay, we're practicing the S.T.A.R principles, but this is my husband. You know, how do I approach a situation with my husband and the possibility that this is going to be melanoma, and how do I honor him as a divine being if this is his path to exit this life in this way? And at first it was very frightening, and I really had to go through, it was a great challenge from the universe to come at me while we're working on this material on such a personal level. But I could go through that experience with him. I could see him go through the experience as well, which, you know, anytime you have some kind of scare like that, you start to look at other things in your life in a different way and decide again what's important to you at this time. So we both had that opportunity to be able to do that. And then using the fascinated observer, I didn't have to stay there. That was really key for me. I went there, I saw what could happen, but I didn't have to stay there. I could go to not a place where I wanted to control things and go, okay, well, I'm going to control this situation. I'm powerful, and you know, he's going to be healed, and it's going to be a miracle, and all these other things, because I worked with all these people, and they all know these magic secrets of the universe. It wasn't like that. It was like a surrender, absolute S.T.A.R principle. He is a divine being. I honor he's a divine being. If this is part of our path and part of our story, then I honor this being a part of our story. I recognize that there are things going on that I have no power over, but I know that it's all happening as part of some great divine plan. So we go through this time during Christmas of such great angst, which is why we couldn't go through the drama call last time. And then it ended up having a very good ending. It's not you know, a malignant situation, and it's something that can be dealt with easily and managed. But it was a great experience for both of us to go through, to use this teaching, to not have to go through the drama that one would normally go through with a diagnosis such as that, of, oh my God, I've got to hurry up and do something right now about this.
Mm-hmm. I really, really thank you for sharing the story. It takes
Yeah, it makes me a little sweaty.
You know, it takes courage. It takes a real grounding of these principles and your relationship to the situation to be able to talk about it. And I think it is probably okay if Christy and I share with everyone listening that as Christy was writing a specific section in the new book where we were talking about being a fascinated observer of a life-threatening situation, we almost took it out of the book because Jaylene couldn't handle it. And she went through the process, which, as Jaylene, you said, is writing the book from the inside instead of as the observer of the information. And we all lived it, and we all experienced it in such a profound way that hopefully this information will be of enormous value, because it struck right to the heart of all three of us. And the person you became, Christy and I both noticed it, is absolutely remarkable. Christy, you want to share a little bit about that?
Well, it was beautiful to witness because, and it was also, I think it was beautiful to witness how Nina and I were navigating it, because we meet every week for a publishing. We get together and we talk about what's been written, things that are maybe a little incongruent, and then we get together and we make them congruent. And so Jaylene felt this incongruence with this one section that was very powerful because she was right in the middle of it. And Nina and I just became I just felt our souls just zoning in on hers, and it's just like creating this space, like what do you need to integrate this, whatever you need. And I felt like when we came together 1 week later, Jaylene had made this incredible evolution in just 1 short week, and she was just like, it's all perfect. You know? Yeah, and it was a magnificent demonstration of the power of surrender.
It truly was. I mean, and if you look at what creates drama in our experiences, one of the things that creates an enormous amount of drama is the death of a loved one.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way it is. We love them. Of course, we're going to feel something missing in our life should they pass. And if they pass quickly or if they pass slowly, it doesn't really matter. They're still past. And we can know that, there's other things that will occur, and it's probably not the first time we hung out together on planet Earth, and it probably won't be the last time either. But when you're going through that situation, it really is difficult for someone to go into that place to be the fascinated observer of a loved one's death. But it is possible to do that. And one of the things I've been experimenting with for the last couple of years as far as the end of drama goes is that looking at the elements of a story, and the elements of a story will always have a protagonist and antagonist in it, which is the same fundamental teachings of most spiritual traditions that are on the planet right now. There's a yin and a yang, there's the Antichrist, and there's the Christ. It's those two things. And when those two come together, it creates a contrast. And the contrast creates an energy that creates a forward motion in our life. When we have an antagonist come into our life, we go, oh my God, that hurts so much, I'm not going back there again, and we do something completely different because it moves us. But there's a place of power that you can come to between those things. The antagonist is not gone. We still live in a 3D world. Whether we want to have it different or not, it still exists as a 3D world. Where the power comes in is when you can choose your antagonist, because you will have an antagonist in your life. And you can choose how you respond to that antagonist, and that is a place of true power for me.
Jaylene, I just love that. And let me ask you a question. And I hope I get those 2 words correctly. But the two characters in your life situation about which you just spoke, could one be the emotions of the past, and the other one being the emotion of the now moment? Because I believe that what shifted you dramatically was, yes, it's absolutely perfect to have emotions, but they are to be the emotions of the present moment.
I'm not so sure if that's what did it for me. I don't know precisely what did it for me. Mm-hmm. But what I can describe is that it was like cogs in a wheel or cogs in a clock lining up. I had this database of knowledge and experience, and then suddenly, while going through that experience, they all lined up, and so the clock started working all together now. So that's what it was for me. It didn't have present moment or past or those other things. It was just like suddenly an alignment occurred, and wow. I had a sense of peace. Does that make sense?
I cut you off. Go ahead.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. What I would love to do, we're coming up to the half hour, is get some feedback of what I think has been remarkable conversation, and I thank the 2 of you so much. Julian, can you introduce yourself and just say a few words about what you've been listening to?
Yeah, thank you. I'm Julian. I'm living over in Holland in Amsterdam. I just started reading your book, the S.T.A.R book, which I'm enjoying very much. Yeah, I not actually read your new book with the term the fascinated observer, but I find myself in life in general trying to be living in the moment, but at the same time not always get attached. But sometimes I find it very difficult. Before I know it, I'm already drawn in to a situation, And for myself, I don't know how it works, but I find that through meditation, somehow that buys me an extra tiny, tiny little bit of time inside my general situations, which gives me a little bit of space which I need to actually choose how I wish to react or how I wish to not react to a situation. But even though I'm aware of it a lot of the times, sometimes I'm just drawn into something, and before I know it, I've reacted, and not always in a way that is preferable to the situation. But it's just each day I just try and remember that in the moment, but I just take it as it goes.
I love that, Julian, and it reminds me of the conversation that Christy and I had just the other day, which is, in my truth, it's a process. And in this process of learning how to choose consciously, the most wonderful comment of all is that it's all perfect.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And no judgment anymore about the process. It's just, I now choose to make another choice.
Absolutely, yeah. As we go along, it's it's almost like a growing awareness, and we can do it as we go, and then we learn how our words and our reactions have a very big effect to the situations. So as we grow in our own individual process, we can also change the larger processes around us.
So, Christy, do you have any thoughts on Julian's remarks?
Well, I think that was beautiful, and I think Julian's so right in that, saying that his meditative practice just gives him just a little bit of an edge the next time it happens, so that it's a constant expansion, a little bit of growth, and that's what the whole philosophy is about. Is just finding the tool to give yourself that little bit of edge the next time it happens, so that you can constantly be growing into and away from those triggers that we become mired within. And when I do feel that that happens to all of us, and when we get into that cycle, I feel it sometimes like, okay, I've detached somehow. I'm feeling a detachment somehow from my my wholeness, and in that detachment, I start to feel this, this feeling like, oh, should I have done this differently? Should I have done that differently? And really, when I get into that cycle, it's an invitation. Some part of me is requiring love. It's about self-love. So what sub-personality, or what part of my inner family, my inner community, is feeling unexpressed, detached, and it's an invitation to just really focus on that part of me and just really bathe it in light and love.
Wow. Joanne, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself, and before you do that, Loanna, I know we've in the past had some trouble with your audio, so if you think that has been fixed, in a few minutes, please come off of mute and we'll ask you to do the same. So, Joanne, good to see you.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah. Well, I got a heads up this morning that the morning was going to be complicated. So, yeah, yeah. My card said it's gonna be tricky, and it was. I had ended up having to go kind of out of my way to ship a package faster than I had originally thought, because I did not see a note from one of my husband's customers. So it's been an interesting morning, and I'm sorry I was a little late getting on here. I've worked as an editor, for those of you who haven't seen me before, for Gather Insight, J. Lee and Clark's publishing company, and I edited Nina's first book, or proofread it, and so I kind of got into the circle as a result of that, but I have a long time resonance with the energies of these kinds of messages from about the turn of the century, and have gone through my own growth process. This, when it comes to detaching from the drama, it definitely is a long-term evolutionary thing, and it's really a practice. And the two things that I have had to work on the most are giving up the need to be right and giving up the desire to always help. Because sometimes I get sucked into the drama because I think I want to help make the negative emotions go away. So I will intervene when I should leave well enough alone and let the other person go through their process. Because they're not even asking for my help. They're just kind of venting or whatever they're doing. They're not trying to pull me in. But I am so wanting to be helpful and wanting to make the negative energies go away that I try to intervene, and then it escalates the situation. And then the other thing that I was always the person in class who raised my hand and said I knew the answer when I was little. And so I've had to get used to the idea that I don't have to speak up and say everything I know and make sure I'm right about the facts and stuff. And sometimes people just need to bend their opinion or whatever, and I just don't need to be involved. And it's taken a lot of sort of daily practice. I know Julian said something about meditation giving him that extra time space that he needed to not react. And I have found that very useful also. When I do my yoga in the morning, I find that I have a calmness that carries me through the day and allows me to take a space and choose not to respond to whatever the drama is that might happen to show up. So yeah, it's interesting, and trying to stay happy when everything around you is being frustrating. I'm getting better at that too.
It sounds like a morning of drama. So, Jaylene, you want to comment on your beloved friend Joanne?
I was just wondering, Joanne, when you read, do you remember reading and trying to copy edit the section about beyond drama in the book?
No, not specifically. Not at the moment, no.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you had any feelings when you first see that term used together, beyond drama, what that means to you on a personal level.
Oh, it definitely means detachment, like Christy was saying. It means it's this sense of stepping back, really. I mean, almost physically stepping backward from whatever is going on. Or not even, I mean, going to another room. Almost like literally going to another room. That's what it, to me, it feels like moving away.
Have you been in a situation where you haven't been able to get away?
Yes.
How could you use S.T.A.R in that situation? It's tricky, isn't it?
Yes. I have tried sitting still, but I have to sit still and be very, very calm at the same time. And this is the difficult part, because if someone is if another person is very heavily into their own negative feelings, and they're very upset, and they're yelling and screaming, and you're just sitting there on the couch, okay? And if I'm sitting there on the couch feeling really pressed on and feeling like crying and being upset, then it doesn't work to sit there. But if I can sit there and I can be calm about it, it can transform the interaction with the other person. At least I have found that to be true.
Yeah. See, this is the part where we've been experimenting with in the Fascinated Observer is that, okay, so you take the concept of STAR, surrender, trust, allow, receive, and then you apply that to a situation where you're going through, in this case, a very dramatic event. There's some kind of trauma going on that's creating, honest feelings of anguish with someone that you're around. And how do you use the Fascinated Observer in that situation to where you're fully present in that experience, but you're not moved to enter the drama? Because the observer doesn't participate in the drama. The observer simply witnesses and observes what's going on with the drama without disconnecting from it. Because, see, I think the disconnection was like one level of it that we went through where we disconnect from it going on, oh, I'm not going to watch the news, oh, I'm not going to do this.
Yeah.
So I keep away from it. But there's this other level of it that I'm experiencing right now that I'm really enjoying seeing how I can play with this toy in this way.
Mm-hmm.
To be fully present there, feeling whatever it is I feel in that very moment. Wow, it's a doozy. That's what we would say in Texas. It's a doozy.
In my life, it's about, as long as I can surrender my attachment for one particular outcome.
Yeah.
For me, it's about surrendering my attachment to outcome. Then I can remain present by saying, that's where I get hung up, is like, well, how could she have possibly said that? How is this person going to respond to that? So suddenly I'm creating all of this web-like scenario in my head that's fabricating drama. That the person I'm concerned about might not be activated at all by what that person said. Or how can my niece have done that? How is she possibly going to get a job in the future? So as long as I can take back those projections and detach my need for an outcome, I can remain present, because then it can be a witnessing of what's happening without a need to control what's happening.
I love that, Christy, and I don't think we've talked about my cosmic chariot Prius experience on Ohio. And so what happened, and I'll do it very briefly, a piece of rubber on the highway, I ran over, and when I finally got to the hotel, the car decided to die. But the point I want to make, and this is really absolutely connected with what Christy just said, expectation of outcome. I remember the precise moment when I was sitting in my car and this sweet little car collapsed at the front door of the hotel, delivering me safely where I was supposed to go before it collapsed. I call it the little engine that could. Anyway, I was sitting in the car, and I knew that I had to take an action step and call all the repair people and the insurance companies and all that stuff. And for just an instant, I heard myself say, poor me. I'm not going to make it to the show with all the other authors and Jaylene in Ohio. Poor me, poor me. I'm going to be inconvenienced. Poor me, I'm tired. I'm going to have to keep this up for another couple of hours and can't go to bed. And then there was a switch, and it happened very, very quickly. And the switch was, I didn't know it at the time, but it was a switch into the Fascinated Observer. And I heard myself say, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I get to Ohio. I am going to engage in this experience, and I'm going to see where this experience takes me. Mm-hmm. And the reason I mention that is I believe that in all of the doors of possibility that were presented in front of me, at that precise moment, switching from poor me to Fascinated Observer with no expectation of outcome, I walked through a different door. Because my experience became a fascinating experience of wonderful people who were so kind to me, so thoughtful, as opposed to inconvenience and horror. So I think that there's something about being the fascinated observer and being and looking at drama differently that actually impacts in the quantum field a different outcome.
Mm-hmm.
So, Julian and Loanna, you know, if you want to jump in and think you can talk from Canada, please do it. Unmute yourself. But in the meantime, Julian, what do you think about all this?
Yeah, it's yeah. Just going back for 1 second to some of the other situations. I think that with not reacting in the moment, it's so much easier if it's a situation that isn't too close to our own personal situations. I've got a brother who's autistic. He'd gone missing for a month, and I found out that some people in a bad suburb in Paris had stabbed him in the back of the head. Now, had I been there as his older brother, I've got no idea if I had a car, or if I've got no idea how I would have reacted. If someone else is telling me a story about this, then yeah, it's much easier to not react if you're emotionally distant. But sometimes you're in a situation so close to a dear one, especially when one's not in a position strongly to defend himself properly, that at that point I just completely lose any space or any ability to not act directly out of my inner instinct. Then I can't. Then I just have to just act out of myself. But maybe that's a matter of time and progress or whatever. But things like this, I can't. I just can't accept. I can't allow to happen. If there's anything within my power to intervene and do something, then I would. But in a lot of other situations, if I'm more distant, it's easier for me to sort of observe. But yeah, that's sort of the point that I was trying to make on that one. It was just hanging in my mind for a second.
Yeah, and that's an enormous comment. Yvonne, welcome. Yvonne from the Netherlands, as well as Julian. But let's continue this really fascinating comment of Julian's. And I'm sitting here wondering what I would do, and then I'm adding to that what I find myself saying, which is a statement that comes from Dr. Eben Alexander's book, which, Yvonne, you've read, Proof of Heaven. And one of the most powerful statements he received when he was on this near-death experience is that you can do no wrong. So I'm sitting here listening to Julian, and I'm wondering whether if he was present with his autistic, I forget what it was, brother, if you had done something that would displease you after you did it, was it wrong? Or, you know where I'm trying to go with this?
Yeah. Well, what actually happened in this situation, he was away. I had a lot of friends in Holland that were sitting, that were going in meditation. Some people could somehow visit him. And it turned out, after all, that it was almost like a blessing in disguise, in the sense that he'd been without medication for almost a month. He could have ended up killing himself or anything crazy. As a result of him being stabbed in the neck, that got him into a hospital and finally into a psychiatric place. So in a really twisted way, it could have saved his life because he was completely without his medication, very psychotic. And it's just sometimes the weird things happen in life, but I believe that it was necessary still to bring him back. But I wasn't actually there. But it was more for me, I was thinking if I was there, or if I did find out who had done this to my younger brother, I've got no idea what I would have been capable of doing. And yeah, had it been someone else, then I would have looked at it differently. I think it was because I was too close to the situation.
Yeah.
I don't think I could have applied anything that I might have known to be right.
Interesting. Joanne, you have a thought on that?
Oh wow. Well, there's something to be said for defending. I mean, when we say we're detaching ourselves to a certain degree from drama, I don't think that necessarily means that we never take action in a given situation to protect or to help. I mean, one could say, yeah, your brother almost needed that experience to pull him back into being cared for. So in the end, so to speak, all things happen for the best. But on the other hand, if you had been there, you might have also, been able to intervene before he was put into a violent situation. You don't know. There's no way of knowing. So I don't know. I don't think we should necessarily stay detached from everything. It starts to get complicated in terms of what choices you make under certain kinds of conditions.
Well, what I love about writing the book, S.T.A.R. Philosophy, The Fascinated Observer's Guide with Christy and Jaylene, is it is a process, and we've never done this before, and we've never focused on the fascinated observer before, and we really haven't lived the philosophy of S.T.A.R. as profoundly. So I know for myself, it's a work in progress, and as I live it, just as Jaylene was expressing earlier, we get deeper and deeper insights into it. And Jaylene, maybe we'll have to write a third book. I don't know.
Well, what I love about this
There's
conversation.
always one more. It's like Lay's potato chips when you get started.
Christy, you wanted to say something?
Well, I want to be clear. By my perspective, none of this is about detachment. It's about presence.
Good.
And the fascinated observer doesn't exist from a place of detachment. It exists from a place of presence. And so simply going into the what ifs, what would happen if I witnessed something, that's, I think, straying from the concept. Because we have no idea what would happen if we witnessed something like that. We don't. I mean, we meditate every day, and we're getting more and more expansive, and perhaps you would have completely disarmed everyone. We just don't know. This is all speculation, and even the thought pattern of getting in that cycle can create some detachment in ourselves.
So, Christy, are you taking notes? Because I think you ought to add that to the book. That was really pithy.
I wrote down 2 notes for the book today, darling.
Oh, Loanna, you're off mute. Can you try to talk? Introduce yourself. Oh, okay. Yvonne, can you take yourself off mute and introduce yourself in Holland, please?
Yes, hello everybody. I've seen some familiar faces. Sorry I couldn't start at the beginning, but I was at a group and practicing S.T.A.R. as best as I can.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to jump in and say she is our S.T.A.R. poster child for the next month, and what a story she has of personal. I don't even know how to express it, having gone through such enormous medical challenges and doing it absolutely in surrender, trust, allowing. So,
yes, it's doing all right. You want me to share any of that, Nina, or just?
Yeah, I think that would be wonderful because we're broadcasting. We have about 10 minutes left, so please do.
Well, I had a pulmonary embolism in August. It was like a karmic moment that needed to happen to heal my lungs and my heart. And it's because I was calling forth the ascended master frequency and probably clearing everything from other dimensions into the physical. I've come through it after 27 days in the hospital with beautiful inner experiences and trips. I don't know if it's astral or what, or just in the cosmos, but complete storylines and trips. And I was off in the universe, so on a soul level, I was totally fine, and my body obviously needed a lot of care and attention. And when I came back around, I was just being, a state of being, just sitting in a bed and taking one day at a time and one moment at a time, and there was nothing else to do, just be. And
I'm going to interrupt you, Yvonne, because we're talking about the end of drama. One of the things you could have done was turn that into a frenetic, dramatic experience and fill it with poor me, and you just didn't. And that is what absolutely astounds me.
well, it was because I think I could just take it in my stride and just totally surrender to it, that even though on some levels, yes, it can be a challenge and has been a challenge, and maybe I was not even thinking that it was a challenge, just accepting it, that it doesn't necessarily feel that it was a big deal, although of course on a level, yes it is, but you just take it as it comes and move through it. And it's been a blessing. So I've had much deeper contact with my brother, and I sort of, on a spiritual level, came out of the closet to him to share what I know and feel and felt and saw and experienced. So it's been great. Yeah.
Thank you. So, Jaylene, this is Yvonne. Yvonne, this is Jaylene.
Hi, Jaylene.
Hi.
We saw each other before now,
but it was so fun listening to you just then, because then I was putting these pieces together. And Julian, did I say your name right, Julian?
Yeah.
Well, I listened to the two of you, and both of you said the same thing about your experiences, and I thought, oh my gosh, maybe this is the answer that we're all looking for, which is what comes beyond drama is called blessing. Is that right?
Say it again. That didn't come through.
Mm-mm.
What comes beyond drama is a blessing.
Blessing.
It's when that's what both of you have said about that experience, is that it was a drama that you were going through, but you perceived it to be a blessing. And it transformed the experience for you. Is that accurate?
It is accurate. It was possible to see that afterwards and not in the moment.
Yes. But it's good that way, isn't it?
Yeah, beautiful afterwards.
And for me, it felt like I was just experiencing it, and my surroundings had the drama, not me, even though I was the center of it.
So you really did get to be the fascinated observer.
Oh yeah.
Observing everyone else be concerned about you. How lovely for other people to be concerned about you.
Yes, it was quite amazing to think, I've got friends all around the world who,
Beautiful.
A hospital, and, you suddenly do realize, people do care, and that's beautiful.
That's a blessing too.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, we have about a little less than 10 minutes, and I think maybe bringing closure would be an appropriate thing to do now. So how about, I'm going to try you again, Loanna. Do you have a voice there? You're off mute.
Looks like she doesn't, Nina.
Okay. I just want you to know that I'm trying here. Okay, so Julian, do you want to say a final word or comment?
No, that was great having me joining in this evening and hearing everything that everyone has to say. I've going to go further reading your S.T.A.R book, and I'm just very much enjoying it and hearing what I'm hearing. this evening, and thank you all.
Oh, well, thank you. And I love that you too are from the Netherlands. I seem to have so many friends, I guess close to 60 now, that are my acquaintances in the Netherlands. And um, Yvonne, I don't know if you know Julian, but Julian, this is Yvonne.
Yeah, we know each other. We
I
do
had
know
to
each
go
other.
halfway across the world to meet each other, perhaps. But
Yeah.
We do know
Yvonne,
each other, yeah. Small country.
yeah, Yvonne and Julian, you know each other through the conference of the Earth Keepers a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So
And you had a session with Julian in Marson.
yes, yes. Oh, you already know. That's good.
Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you, Julian and Joanne.
Oh, thanks. This is, to me, it's just amazing to see the wonderful healing energy of people in connected throughout the world. One of my favorite channelers, Steve Rother, is he and his wife have been back and forth to the Netherlands several times.
Mm-hmm.
There seems to be a really dedicated group of light workers over there that, I just haven't noticed other countries, coming through with the same sense of working the energies and moving into their own spiritual growth quite so much as seems to come from that one small country. And I think it's wonderful because we can all there is no such thing as time and distance with this kind of energetic connection we have. And that's what makes it so cool. I mean, we're all basically hovering in the quantum ether, connecting with each other on some level. So it's neat. I just get validation after validation whenever I come to this group to keep on practicing, and I see little incremental improvements in every situation that I find myself in. So it's just a constant growth process, and I'm so glad I ended up working for Jaylene because I've been exposed to all of this wonderful new information from her authors. So.
Oh, I love that, and thank you for joining us today because you contribute so much. What I'm spurred to add is that in our coming together on Google Hangout, what is my dream and what is my belief in my truth is that we are using the S.T.A.R Foundation, S.T.A.R philosophy as a foundation for coherent discussion. And the discussion today was about the end of drama. So we were dreaming, in a way, a new way of being, a new way of looking at drama, and in doing it in a coherent way, coming together like this and entangling our energy and our thoughts in the quantum field, we are creating exponential possibilities for the creation of the new Earth. So it is no small work that we have done today. And I just thank you all so much. Yvonne, can you come off of mute and say, just as soon as you got here, say goodbye?
Thank you so much, Nina, for creating this everything, and love that you're sharing it and getting us together. So good for you. Keep on going, my dear.
Oh, well, and Yvonne has been so supportive and such a good friend for so many years, just walking me through this journey and holding my hand, so I really appreciate that. So, Christy, how about a farewell?
Well, I love doing these because talk about surrendering attachment to outcome. Every time we do this, we don't know who's going to show up, and everyone who shows up is so engaging, and their energy makes it so unique. I've had the privilege of being on circles with Joanne in the past. I always love it when Joanne shows up, and what a special treat to meet Julian today. Some really beautiful things came out of your mouth, Julian. Thank you. Luana, I see your presence there. I feel it. It's wonderful. And Yvonne, what a gift you are, and to share your story just gave me chills. So it's just an honor to be in the presence of such beautiful people.
Thank
So
you.
thank you.
Oh, Christy, I thank the universe that you and I kind of stumbled over each other about a year ago. And you know that's a story unto itself, and maybe it's in the new book. I don't know, but anyway, I thank you. And so, Jaylene.
Yes, yes. Well, I just am in awe of watching this unfold and watching you be so courageous to do step after step after step after step to reach your goal of being able to reach people around the world. And here we are on this lovely Tuesday afternoon where I am. I'm not sure what time it is anywhere else in the world, but and you're doing your job, and I just celebrate you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, and this all started with you. As many people know, Jaylene came all the way to Santa Fe. I didn't know she was a publisher. I didn't know why she came, and we had lunch, and then she said, how would you like to write a book about S.T.A.R.? And I thought, oh, lovely, I can do that. It'll just be this itty-bitty little thing because, you know, it's and I could probably do that.
Little did you know.
And she kept pushing me, and anyway, here we are on book 2 and star circles, and so now I have a goal, and my intention I'll share with everybody and all those who will be listening in the future is that the S.T.A.R philosophy touches every person on the planet. And it might not happen in my lifetime, but that is my goal, because what I believe is that we have been gifted, it's not my creation, we have been gifted a philosophy that is, I call it the magic wand for the sovereign being. This is a brand new tool, and we need new tools to create the unknown, because the old tools don't know how to create the unknown, and that's what makes the ego scared of how do we create the new earth. Well, S.T.A.R is the most phenomenal tool I've bumped into, and that's why I have this intention. So I thank you all. This has been just delightful, and I just want to do a little ad that Jaylene and Christy and I are going to get together again. We're going to, at the moment, we're trying to do this once a month, so the 11th of February, which is the month of St. Valentine. So, Christy, what did we call this? Be the love, you're worth it, or something like that. So we're going to be talking about one of the essential qualities that is mentioned in the book, which is self-love. So I really encourage all of you to join us then, and to play with us, and to dream with us, and just, if you have the opportunity to share this philosophy with others, it does not belong to me. It is not mine to control in any way whatsoever. It's yours, and we just love it if that happens. So I think I'm going to push the stop broadcast button and say, bisous, bisous. That's what my grandchildren say in Belgium. Bisous, bisous. So, au revoir, and I don't know how you say it in the Netherlands. But,
Goedenavond.
there you go. Wonderful. Okay. Bye-bye until next time.
Bye.
Bye.